welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and happy to be live here on Facebook, proud member of the Education Podcast Network, Voice Ed Radio Canada, or wherever you are taking in the podcast. Happy to be with you, and happy summer, right? It's a Sunday night here in the summer. August is with us. So wherever you are, enjoying it, and thanks for tuning in. I want to give a shout out to Port Jervis, my school district. Many of you down south, some out west, have already started school. Kids were back on Thursday. I did some school openings down south last week, and so a shout out to all of our educators that are starting school and those that are still recharging. God bless, and keep rolling. I want to say a word from our sponsor here, IXL. They've been a friend of the program, so stay tuned for a word from our sponsor, IXL. Hey friends, Andrew Murata here, Surviving and Thriving. And I want to thank today's sponsor for the podcast, IXL. Discover the power of data-driven instruction in your school with IXL. It is the most widely used online learning and teaching platform K through 12. It gives you everything you need to maximize learning, from a comprehensive curriculum to meaningful school-wide data. And IXL's diagnostic is research proven to be a strong predictor of performance on standardized assessments, including NWEA, MAPS, STAR, iLearn, just to name a few. And the best part, everything I just mentioned is all integrated into one platform, so you can simplify your ed tech tools. Visit IXL.com to lead your school towards data-driven excellence today. The link is in the show notes. And again, I want to thank IXL for sponsoring Education, Leadership, and Beyond. All right, as I said there, that link is in the show notes, so check them out. And I know many of you use IXL, including today's guest. We are going to meet Jon Konen from Montana. Jon just transitioned to a new position. He's got some new things going on in his life. So I'm excited to talk with him and learn about his leadership. So we will welcome Jon in just a moment. The opening concept here is called impact. I was on a plane last week, and normally I'm focused on what I'm doing on the plane. I don't talk much, say hello, but I get focused on my work and dive in. Well, this lady bumped her head, and I was like, oh my God. So I got talking with her, and just, so she was telling me about her daughter, and her daughter got a job at NBC. She's working in Manhattan, and it was like, wow, she's working at NBC in Manhattan. And she was going on, and then she told me she just wasn't happy. She wasn't happy there. She says, like, sometimes she feels like, it doesn't even matter if she shows up or not. She's not making an impact, a direct impact. And I just listened, and I listened some more, and I finally said, well, where you can make a direct impact? That's in schools with kids. Maybe she wants to get involved with schools. She was involved with, design and graphic design and all that kind of stuff. So I told her to think about it. But we are making a direct impact in schools, and I shared that story. And again, I want to thank all of our educators out there tuning in who are educators, because you are making an impact. Speaking of making an impact, outside Montana, inside Montana, he is doing great things. I would like to welcome from Montana my friend Jon Konen. Jon, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me on. Can't wait to talk with you.
Good to see you. I know we've been scheduling this for a while, so I'm glad finally can make it happen.
Definitely. We have some great weather here, and it's been unbelievable summer. Summer of George, if you remember Seinfeld.
Beautiful. Remember Seinfeld? I'm listening to Michael Richards' book right now, but I'm a Seinfeld guy for sure. Yeah. So, well, good for you. I know you got some new stuff going on. You landed in a new position, Stevensville Schools Director of Curriculum and Assistant Principal at the elementary. Tell me about this new chapter in your life, this new journey, Jon.
Definitely had to make a new version of myself over the last couple of years. Kind of been career hopping up. I went from a small little rural school as a K-12 principal about 20 years ago, and made my way into the second largest district in Montana, which was Great Falls, and was a
Wow.
principal there for over a decade there, and
Wow.
then made my way into a superintendent position. Signed my contract March 1st, and then COVID happened in 2020, and so it was one of the most difficult decisions, to going through COVID. And I know it was very decisive for superintendents, especially with everything going on. In fact, I think I heard a stat: over 1/3 of superintendents from 2020 to 2022 transition between schools. It just was so controversial, right?
Wow.
And I happen to be one of those guys. I was in a school district where it was super controversial. We had people on both sides of the political spectrum, to be honest, and it was very difficult for me as a superintendent to be right in the middle, trying to keep students and staff safe. And so, after 2 years, I decided I wanted to get back closer to kids, and I chose a job as a high school principal. And I had been a high school principal for 20 years, and was a high school principal in a large school in Montana. And all of a sudden, I started dating a girl. It's been 3 years now, and kind of made a career choice to not worry about the job and worry more about the family. So I ended up getting engaged last December and got married last weekend, actually, down here in Hamilton, Montana. And she's a high school special education teacher, so I think she's done a very good job of putting me on a plan. And I decided to move down here also, and I took a job close to her, and administrative job, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great position, working with curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and then supporting at the elementary level. I do love elementary kids, but I tell you what, I did enjoy my high school experience the last 2 years in Columbia Falls, Montana. So we're lucky enough to be in Western Montana, which is there's so much to do around here. In fact, I don't even want to talk about it very much because we're getting so many more people that are moving in here. So it's kind of a secret, right?
Wow. Well, good for you, chasing love, chasing family, and exciting about that. Jon, let's back up a sec. The opening segment about making an impact. What's your thoughts on that story, and my advice to that young lady?
Oh, that's great. I love that, the impact part of it. I think that's when people talk about their purpose or their why and why they do what they do. But I think creating relationships should be the impact that we have, and how we can, get students and families to team around, everyone, so we can create a community where people want to work and learn. And I've been lucky enough to be in some schools that have an unbelievable sense of school culture within the school and within the community also, that are really supportive of their students and their teachers. And I've also been in the same state here in Montana, some school districts that's not the number one priority. And wow, it is night and day to me how much school culture and how we can create and make an impact as a school leader is on our community and our students.
Yeah, 100%. And you're starting new. You shared again Stevensville. So tell me, how Jon, will you kind of ease into this position, build those relationships, and start to make an impact in a new place? What's your plan here to get started?
Yeah, great question. Actually, these are some of the articles that I've written on over my lifetime experience of like helping me remember some of the things that I've done in some of these school districts that help connect with kids and families right away. I think one of the things is connecting with teachers before school starts. We actually have some letters going out to families before school starts, introducing ourselves, and then kicking off with staff orientation. For almost 20 years now, I've cooked pancakes on that very first day, and got teachers in, showing them that we're going to work right alongside them, and start creating those relationships right away. One of my favorite strategies that I use right away is kind of like a thermometer check. I've heard it called a barometer check too, where I do a walk around every morning to go check in with teachers, and that constant going around and checking in on them really hitting on the whole servant leadership concept of what can I do to help support you, and getting to know them more than just surface level, what are you teaching today, but getting to know, their families and their kids, and understanding what makes them tick, and what makes them happy, and what is stressful for them. As soon as you start learning that across the board, you start creating these strong relationships, and the faster than you can do that, the better it is. So I think the amount of time you spend with people right away definitely models what you want them to be doing with kids and families, but it also is a way to create strong relationships faster. So I think that's probably going to be a little bit of giving you a little illustration of what's going to be going on here in the next couple of weeks.
I love it. Give a shout out for that, making pancakes, and again, that visibility, that connection, 100%. Jon, you've been an AD, a superintendent, a high school principal. You look back at the work you've done, the relationships you've built. What are a couple things that stand out that you're most proud of?
Right. We could talk about some national awards that I've won, but that's not number one. Number one is just the community impact, like you're talking about impact today, but just that creating that culture of allowing and empowering people within the community to help lead within our schools. So building teachers, really focusing on their strengths, getting kids as many opportunities to be leaders as well. I think a lot of times you go into a new school and they, a lot of people are saying, well, let's hope this new administrator is really good at discipline, right? I'd like community to say, I hope this principal is really good at forming relationships and creating positive childhood experiences, right? Like PCEs, that's the opposite of ACEs, right? ACEs are adverse childhood effects, and PCs are positive childhood effects. So as a principal or as a leader, we can create these positive childhood experiences for kids. I think the more opportunities we have for that, the less the discipline will be overall. That's been my experience anyway.
I agree with that 100%. And I like how you made that comparison to ACEs, which is such a defining piece of data, piece of part of these kids' lives. I like that. PCEs. You and I might have to write something about that. I like yeah. Well, that's awesome. And then the work you're doing, Jon, we talked a little off air about some of your mentors, some of the people that had an impact on you. And one of them, David Wick, you wrote about there. Tell me about some of the things that David Wick kind of empowered you and you learned from him that has made you the leader you are today.
Yeah, definitely. Man, he's received so many awards. And again, it's not his awards, but it's his relationships that he has. He's been a National Distinguished Principal. He won the highest award in Montana for impacting education in Montana just recently with his retirement 2 years ago. But all that said and done, and all his recognition that he has, this guy spends time and listens to you and helps give you guidance. And, let you know in his experience, he's always got a story. He's got a story about something that's happened. He's in education for 40 some years, and he has a story pretty much with almost anything you bring up that's similar. And so you can kind of listen to that story and see how, he dealt with it and handled it. Obviously the times are different sometimes that we're going through, but man, the whole mentorship and getting that lesson taught through his story has been remarkable for me. And he's a guy also that asks, do you want me to listen or do you want me to comment, right? Wow. And so I think that's powerful as a leader too. Sometimes we go into these situations and we just want to kind of complain and moan about all the stuff that's going on and just have someone listen. But sometimes, a lot of times I'm the one asking, give me some ideas. What can I do? What would you do? Put yourself in this scenario. And this guy has unbelievable strategies and ideas, and it's worked for him. And it's based around relationships and using those relationships to help support students. And I love that piece of it.
Yeah. And I love hearing about that, right? Sometimes education could come off so negative. People just, frustrated. But when you hear these great stories of people and mentorships, and now at this point in your career, Jon, having led in a bunch of different roles, you now are a mentor for others. How do you go about that role, trying to help and guide younger administrators, younger teachers that maybe are struggling in their first or second year. How do you provide that mentorship now where you are in your career?
Oh, that's a great question. I was lucky enough to be an instructional coach also in a large district, and
Nice.
we use the model of Jim Knight's coaching philosophy, and that was unbelievable to me to understand how you work alongside someone and you use questioning to help support and you guide them, and you're not telling them what to do so much as you are, planting seeds and giving examples and guiding through all of that conversation that you have with them. It's just a series of questions, digging deeper, and I've taken that into the principalship and leadership, different positions I've been in, to really learn how to listen better and how to dig deeper into what someone's trying to say, and to be able to guide through questioning. And so a lot of times having them come up with an answer through the questions that you ask. So you got to really be cognizant of, like, what's your question now, but what are you going to ask next? And so, because you might have something in your mind that you're leading towards, and you may have to change that direction because of how they respond to you. So it's just this constant thinking one step ahead and coming up with questions that can dig deeper to help a teacher, or even a student, for that matter, like challenge themselves and become that 1% better.
I love it. I love that answer. And you asked the right question to help them discover their own answer. So good job there. Jon, it's summertime. It's a beautiful time here in the Northeast and Western Montana. I know you like being outside. I know you like hiking and all of the outside beauty. Tell me, how do you use those experiences, being outside, the hikes? What do those do for you in terms of your professional education life as well as your personal life?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. So, oh man, I bought a kayak about 10 years ago, and I've used it more so in the last couple of years. But this summer I got to, there's a series of Finger Lakes in Glacier Park. I used to live right next to Glacier Park, and it goes from the famous McDonald Lake, where everyone's seen the colorful rocks in the lake that goes up against the Rocky Mountains there, and then there's all these series of Finger Lakes. Well, I would pop on my headphones and listen to a podcast or a book for the most part, and go out and do that. Sometimes I would take off everything and just be in the moment with nature. But a lot of times when you're doing that stroke for so long, a couple hours out onto a lake, you need that kind of mindless conversation going on with yourself and listening to a book or listening to a podcast. So getting out and kayaking has been great. Hiking is another one where if I'm not listening to music, I'm listening to a podcast or book, or I'm doing nothing. I switch it up quite a bit to do that. So we're pretty much planning something physical, 5 out of 7 days a week, where we're trying to get a hike in this summer using all of our days. In Montana, as a principal, most principals only work 207 days. Unless you're a high school principal, you got to work all year round. So only working 207 days, that gives you, several days, 50 some days, even more than that, in the summer, to be able to decide, what you want to do to get outside. And I think connecting with nature is one way that has helped me, and got to see some beautiful places this summer.
And I know, like, places like Colorado, I know it gets cold, it gets snow, but like the sun, it's not that warmth comes through. Like, does it get cold there in October and it's cold through May? Like, when does it get cold there?
Oh, that's a great question. There's a infamous, in Montana anyway, an infamous meme that goes around that says, just think, right now it's 103. It'll be 140 degrees difference in 6 months, right? Which is crazy. Montana is one of those states that has, in fact, I think we have the record. There's a place in Montana that within 24 hours changed over 100 and some degrees in one day, in a 24-hour period.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, we get unbelievable summers. Like right now, today it was hitting close to 100 here, and then it's gonna be 70 some tomorrow, so it's a big difference, 30 degrees difference. But you'll start seeing the snow line come down off the mountains. There's a couple of mountains right next to me that are 9,000 feet, 8,000 feet. You start seeing that snow line start hitting late September or so. It starts coming down the mountain, and you'll probably get your first snow in the first part of middle of October, and then pretty much winter's going full bore right before Thanksgiving, right around Thanksgiving. We'll have sometimes ski resorts will open the week after.
Wow.
So it comes pretty quick. Our fall can be pretty short sometimes. We've had to play football last couple of years in snowstorms in playoffs, and it's kind of difficult to do that. But if you grow up in Montana, then you're kind of used to that type of atmosphere.
Yeah. So how do you get through the winters, Jon? Again, I'm 49 this month. I'm turning 49. And the more I'm up here in Northeast PA, the colder I get. I get so tired of the cold. How do you get through it?
First, when is your birthday?
August 14th here, 10 days.
You got to be kidding me.
Your birthday?
49. 49, August 14th.
Your birthday's August 14th, and you're turning 49?
Yeah, we're birthday brothers, man.
I knew I liked you. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. I was living up last couple of years in Columbia Falls, and they don't get sun very often. It's next to two ski resorts. One huge ski resort called Whitefish Mountain. It's beautiful, but it's socked in all the time. There's seasonal affective disorder all the time up there, and it's tough. It really got to me with the fact of not having as much sun. I'm from the east side of Montana, where I grew up, where we had sun, 250 some days out of the year or more, and then going over there and having the opposite of that is just tough. So, man, I've been doing I bought snowshoes last couple of years. I downhill ski, so trying to get outside still, no matter how cold it is. Have a gym membership. That's another piece to get in and do work out in the gym. I've been in the high school gym the last couple of years, so I've been able to work out in the gym where I was working. This year, I'm close to another ski resort down here. I'll buy a ski pass this year, I think, and try to get out. So I think trying to get outside and get out of that mundane school setting where you're going in and out, where you go to work in the dark and come home in the dark. Man, you got to make those weekends really look forward to them and plan them well.
Yeah, those days are hard for sure. Jon, we connected on social media through a couple different channels, but one of the ways we connected was through our work with Responsive Learning. You're a content creator for them. I want to give them a shout out. A tremendous online group out of El Paso, Texas. Jon and I both have courses with Responsive Learning, so you can check those out. Just Google it and you'll get there. But tell me about your process in terms of creating content. I love the autonomy they give us. They kind of give us a topic and let us go. What's your process in terms of making that idea into an online course?
Oh, that's great. Good question. I've been lucky enough to present at several different levels, and so I've taken a lot of the presentations over the last 20 years of being an administrator, and I've tweaked them, take some of the content out of them to give me kind of a backbone for them, and added in the latest research. And so that's kind of been my structure so far, is taking some of the stuff that I've already done. I love the fact with responsive learning you get to own your own stuff, and so though they get to use it for their course and they make money every time someone takes your course, you get to own the content from it, and you get to put it out in other places too. And so I'm at that point where I've got some courses ready to go, and I'm going to put them on multiple different platforms. I think that's the part that I like the best. But my process so far has just been kind of using some of the stuff that I've done in the past for state national presentations and stuff. So
and I find myself busy, Jon. I got a lot going on, but I like to sit down and then lock in the time. Do you schedule it? Do you say, I got an hour and a half, let me do this? How do you go about getting it on your calendar to make it happen?
Yeah, that's another good question. And that's probably been one of my hardest things to do, especially as a high school principal when we have to supervise so many sports. So the amount of content that I created the last 2 years is less than I have for the previous 18 years. And then starting up the summer again, not being in the high school, I'm going to be able to get a lot more content pushed out too. So, man, some of my secrets are finding your favorite place to work. Sometimes it's not in the house. Like I can name out of the last 5 locations where I've lived, a coffee place where if I walk into those coffee shops, they know me by my first name, because I'm in there like every Saturday working. Like Saturday morning is one of my all-time favorite times to work. Everyone else in the house maybe getting up a little bit later, but I'm up, early and working. We have a place in Hamilton called Big Creek Coffee, and man, I'm in there multiple Saturdays in the morning working. So done that when I used to live down the valley down here too. So each of the places where I've been have a place to work. It's not in school, and and it kind of puts me in that mindset to I need that I don't know, sound or people talking around me to work on the content that I'm doing, unless I'm recording, right? If I'm recording, then I got to go somewhere quiet. But
Sure.
if I'm not, I need that background noise. It's kind of weird, but
yeah. Well, I know that's a sound on the sound machine too. A coffee shop, people talking.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Again, responsive learning. Check out Jon's courses. Check out mine. But I enjoy it. I'm going to record, the next 2 days as well, and kind of get those courses out there. So it's a lot of fun, and I love to talk with fellow content creators. Jon, a couple more questions here, but anything that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask you about yet?
No, I think we are in a period in education right now where we're seeing, I feel like, a mass exodus of people leaving education. And so I guess I challenge people to make a new version of themselves and to make that transition and try something different, but stay in education. I mean, there's a reason why you got into education. There's a lot of my friends that are getting out of education that are so disenfranchised with where public education's heading.
Yes.
And instead of trying to stay and make an impact and maybe changing jobs, they're totally getting out, and that scares me because these are some great people. These are some great leaders that public education is losing. And so I think that's one of the pieces that I'm going to be writing about. I write also for teacher.org. And that's one of the things that I write about is how to stay connected in education and how to make a new version of yourself. And so, man, I've made a couple new versions of myself, going from elementary principal to superintendent of a district, and high school principal, and now back to curriculum director. Did that all within the last 8 years. Man, between a divorce, a change with COVID because of COVID from superintendent, and then getting married. And so, man, some of these transitions were gains in me going up in bigger schools, larger positions. And then this last position, I made this transition, and it is definitely not a superintendent role, right? So I could be going out looking for superintendent jobs, and I chose to be close to family. I wanted to live with my wife, obviously, and her 2 kids, and be in Montana, where she lives and works. She's a high school special ed teacher, and I have such a heart for special ed teachers. Out of all the positions, I think the special ed is one of the hardest jobs we have in there. I mean, I can talk all about being a principal and how difficult it might be, but it's nothing compared to a special ed teacher that has to document and make sure they're staying to the law with their IEPs and all that, and working with parents and sometimes some very difficult students. And I'm worried about the current generation of people that are close to our age that are just getting out, that they still have so much to give to education. How can we make a better version of ourselves and stay in education? That's kind of my challenge for people.
Yeah, I love that, and I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you sharing your own story there, and I agree with that. I concur. Jon, I know we talked off air about IXL and that they sponsored the show, but you've had a positive experience with IXL as well. Can you share a little bit about how IXL has helped you as a school leader in your school?
Yeah, definitely, man. About 15 years ago, we were using SuccessMaker, and then it transitioned into the company that was after SuccessMaker. I forgot the name of it. And then finally, we found we were looking for a math intervention for our school because we needed more data, and we needed something that also differentiated instruction to a student's level. And we found IXL Math, and it's one of the things that when we dug into that, our kids enjoyed it, and some of the data that we were seeing was very correlative to some of the data that we were pulling from our NWA scores. And so once we could see that that correlated, and that's one of the big things working in a big district where we have people that can work on the data piece of it. But when you start looking at how that data correlates to other pieces, and you're trying to pull 3 pieces of data on every kid so you can get a good picture of where they're at, we found that IXL did a great job of being able to correlate to our NWA scores, and we were able then to set goals with IXL and to be able to use that as a good intervention for math to differentiate instruction.
Yeah, so many educators have had a similar experience, positive, and it's timely, it differentiates, and it gives you that data. So thank you for sharing that, Jon. Jon, you know my theme is surviving and thriving, and right, it's some days we're surviving, other days we feel like we're champions of the world, thriving. Let's take out the word "and." There's a blank in that. There's a blank space. What mindset, what word, what strategy, what are you putting in there that you could share that would help other educators, that you would share that helps you go from surviving to thriving?
Sure. Make it tangible. I mean, make that culture tangible. We talk about school culture all the time. Everyone talks about relationships, but it's those people that actually can make it tangible and make it and show people this is what it looks like. So I try to do a lot of stuff with teachers that they can then go do with parents and with kids on how to make that tangible. When I talk about creating relationships, what do you do? What do you do specifically? I had one principal when I was superintendent. I had one principal that her goal was for every single staff person, she had to find out 2 things about that staff member outside of school. Right. And she tracked it. And she tracked it. And I'm like, holy cow, that's just making it tangible. Right. So she could go through and she could look at every single staff member she had and knew at least 2, if not more, things about that teacher. And that way she knew that she wasn't hitting one teacher more than the other. And she was making sure that she knew outside of the school work job that we do every day, 2 things about them. I thought, wow, that's a great way to really track it and to make yourself get out there and build those relationships.
Jon, I've asked that question a lot. I have never got such a good answer. That's a great answer. And you think about, right? We ask people, how you doing? Right? Here in New York, we say, how you doing? And most people, yeah, I'm doing fine. But now you can say, hey, how's your dog?
Oh yeah.
How was that new deck you put on the house? You can ask those questions and they'll want to talk about it, and man, what a great answer.
Yeah. I got that from someone else, and I just felt like it really fit with what I do, trying to make it tangible.
Tangible. Awesome here. I love it. Jon, let's get to rapid fire. You probably got dinner time in front of you in Montana here, and we're going to go watch the Olympics tonight. Shout out to our Americans. Got 49 medals so far in the Olympics. It's been a lot of fun here. But these are quick questions, right? I don't have the stopwatch like in the Olympics, but rapid fire. You ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Last book you read.
Oh, man, The Anxious Generation. I read it twice this summer. It's about how the great rewiring of the childhood is causing an epidemic on mental illness by Jonathan Haidt. It is by far the #1 book I think educators should be reading right now, and parents right now, talking about a lot with cell phones, man. It is powerful.
Yeah. I think I've seen you post that. I've seen a lot of people post about that book. That's interesting. Last movie you saw?
Twisters. Awesome. Loved it.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Do you get that weather out there, or are you too north?
Actually, we've had a couple in Montana. We'll probably have 1 touchdown every other year or so in Montana, eastern Montana, but not very much, man.
The mountains protect you.
We probably more earthquakes than we do tornadoes. So
there you go. Last concert you went to?
Well, in an hour, I'm going to Dierks Bentley. So
tonight. Oh my God, dude!
Yeah.
Wow. I know we had to change the time of this. Thank you. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, he's incredible.
Yeah, I love him. I love Dierks Bentley.
So he is incredible, man. Yeah, drunk on a plane. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, have a great time there. I think I saw. Did you post about Jason Mraz?
Just went to him on Thursday. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And dude, you said the lyrics were just gorgeous.
It was unbelievable. There were little kids there, there were old adults there, and we just kept hearing people talking about the words and positivity that he has in his music and what he says on stage. It was very powerful. It was great.
Yeah. Dude, I saw you post that. I kind of was like, bam, I looked him up. I want to try to get to go see him.
Yeah.
Good
He's
for
great.
you. Enjoy Dirks, man. He's great.
Yeah, he'll be great.
Burning Man. Your favorite dish?
For food, oh man, deep dish Chicago style pizza. Yeah, I'm sorry you're from New York, but nothing beats Geno's East Side in Chicago. So
Can you get that in Montana? Can you get good
no, you got to travel. You can have it sent to you, but it's not as good as having it in the restaurant for sure.
Well, speaking of traveling, favorite place to travel?
Oh boy, that's a great one. I would probably say Puerto Vallarta. We go there quite a bit, so it's a great place.
Beautiful. Speaking of music, if you were singing a karaoke song, what are you singing?
Oh, this is embarrassing. I have a go-to song that makes everyone laugh. So I do Lunch Lady Land by Adam Sandler. It's my favorite.
If you weren't in education, what would you be doing?
Oh man, probably doing what you're doing. Really working on becoming a full-time supporter of education through a consultant piece. I think that's what I would do.
Yeah. And then, people say that, but you always got to have your time in education. Make sure you have the experience to do it for sure. One thing you are waiting to do.
Oh man, one thing I'm waiting to do. Got about 4, maybe 5 years left in Montana. So I'm going to retire from Montana and try a different state, I think, in 4 or 5 years. I'm waiting for that and really want to finish strong here.
I've known some people out west that have done that. They've gone from Alaska to Colorado, Idaho, things like that. Yeah. Cool. What's a pet peeve of yours, John?
Oh, man. Pet peeve. Toxic positivity. People that will gaslight you and tell you how everything's going great and everything is fine and you're fine, everything's good, without ever understanding the reality of what's going on right now. It's upsetting to know that people don't want to deal with that. There's so many leaders out there and people that don't want to deal with they don't want to lean into that discomfort, as Brene Brown says, right? They just want to go right over and say everything's fine, they're happy and everything's going well, when they need to lean in and dig into why it is the way it is and change it.
Agreed there. Yeah, for sure. One thing you're curious about?
Oh, one thing. I am curious about we have a change, obviously, in presidency, but we also have a change in Montana with our state superintendent of instruction. And so I am curious about the direction that we're going to go as a state. We just started having charter schools in Montana this year. So we're hitting those same timelines as Arizona and Florida and some other places. And it'll be really interesting what
now as director of curriculum, you got a first hand in there, what changes will be coming down. So
yeah,
good answer there. Yeah. Something about Jon Konen that people do not know about.
Oh man. I absolutely love water skiing. It is something I know a lot of my friends know about that. I got out of it for a little while, and then I got back in this summer after losing some weight, and I thought, man, just losing 40 pounds changed everything on a water ski. So I guess that's one thing that tell people about, is just get in shape so you can enjoy life better.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful answer. Who is your professional sports team living out in Montana?
Well, actually, we don't have any here, right? So I'm going to tell you, I grew up with Harry Carey and WGN. So everything's Chicago. That's why I like Chicago pizza too. But I'm a Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks, and Cubs. All Chicago.
So Michael Jordan's your guy.
Oh man, I got every basketball card besides his rookie. So, yep.
And you've been to a Cubs game?
Tons. Yep. Been in Peoria. Been in, not in Peoria, but in where they do spring training in Tucson. Outside of Phoenix. I should know this right next to Phoenix. Nope. That's the other way. I'll think of it here in a bit. Come
Yeah.
back to it, but all over in Wrigley and White Sox. I've seen him in Milwaukee. Seen him several different places.
Awesome. You root. It's a good thing to root for there. Jon, I know you're on social media. I know you do some writing. How can people get in touch with you?
Sure. Big thing. I've kind of narrowed down all of my social media down to Facebook right now, and I do a little bit. I have an Instagram account too, and so between Instagram and Facebook, those two post together, and then teacher.org have over 100 published articles on teacher.org on the daily site that they have part there with articles, and probably those three places are where I'm at the most.
Yeah, awesome. And Jon, how about a quote? I'm a quote guy.
Sure.
You said some really powerful things there. I loved what you said about tangible PCEs. What's a quote you have that we can end with?
I usually have this on my tagline on my email. It's Peter Drucker's quote on culture eats strategy for breakfast. So that's probably my favorite.
Yeah. Wow. This is Jon Konen, friends. Did a great job. We were able to reschedule. I appreciate your flexibility. And you going to Dirk's Bentley right now.
Taking off right now.
Hey, man. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, have a beer for me. And like he says, the beers are on me. So,
yeah, there you go.
So go enjoy. Again, this is Jon Konen. Jon, I really wish you all the best with these new things you have going on. And good for you for, like you said, kind of reinventing yourself, the best version of yourself. So good luck.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. You do a great job at this.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, we're going to let Jon go to Dirk's. Jon, stay on a moment. We are going to sign off here on the podcast. If I can help you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out at Andrew Marotta21 on Twitter. And keep surviving and thriving, friends.